Thank you for clicking on this video. Today we're gonna be talking about one of the scariest experiences one can live. Looking for a job. We've all been there, right? Sweating through a button down, pretending like we know what synergy means, lying about being a people's person. When looking for a job, you deal with things like poor employment opportunities, miserable wages, or a terrible boss. But what if I told you none of these things come close to the worst things that can happen when looking for a job? And with the unemployment rates at an all-time high, we must dig into the horrors of looking for a job. I'm talking about job interviews that turn into nightmares. Robbery, murder, pyramid scheme disguised as a corporate opportunities. And the craziest part, some of these people still took the job. So let's start with something that we all can relate to. Getting completely bamboozled by a job posting. You know how it is. You're scrolling through Indeed at 2 in the morning when you see it. Marketing coordinator, 60K starting, flexible hours, great benefits. But here is where it gets weird. According to this Reddit post I found, this guy showed up to what he thought it was a marketing interview. Professional building, nice lobby, the whole package. He's feeling good about himself. The interviewer sits him down and starts talking about unlimited earning potential and being your own boss. Red flag number 1 and number 2. Then the interviewer pulls out a whiteboard and starts pointing at circles with arrows, pointing to more circles with more arrows. It was a pyramid scheme. A full-blown MLM recruitment disguised as a job opportunity. The craziest part is when he tried to leave, they were like, wait, there's more. Like he was at a late night infomercial. They actually had the audacity to ask him to bring 3 more friends to the next interview. Like he's starting a cult or something. I actually remember having a very similar experience. I applied for a job that was marketing assistant. When I went to the interview, I went to this really nice office building. Everybody in the office is like suit up, wearing ties, blazers, everything. But all the descriptions about the job was still very vague about what they do. On top of that, something that caught me so off guard is that when I went into the office, there is a lot of yelling around the office. But it's not like yelling like people is fighting, it's yelling like motivational yelling. Everybody's yelling things like, I can do it, you can do it, we can do it type of stuff, you know? And the thing is, when you go to a job interview and you hear people yelling about, I can do it, I am the chosen one type of stuff, there's only 3 options for you. 1, you just apply for a pyramid scheme. 2, you just apply for a Ponzi scheme. 3, you just applied for a cult. To make the long story short, I didn't really like the job. It was kind of scammy, you know, because the job was about going to gyms and supermarkets and plazas and malls and ask people to donate to these non-profit organizations. I remember the company used to keep something like 50% of the donations, you know. There was a lot of selling and lying and manipulating, which I really didn't like. But sometimes the job itself isn't the problem. Sometimes it's what happens during the interview that makes you question your life choices. Picture this. You're sitting in a manager's office, interviewing for a 2 a.m. to a 10 a.m. shift. You're young, inexperienced, just trying to get your foot on the door. The manager is explaining their college education funding program when suddenly you hear shouting from the front of the store. The manager tells you to stay put and goes to check the security cameras. Over her shoulder, you can see a guy holding the cashier at gunpoint. Now, what you do in this situation? Panic? Run? Call 911? She just watched as the cashier handed the money to the robber. As the robber left, the manager just nodded to herself like somebody just returned a book to the library. The applicant asked, does this happen often? No, honestly. It's the very first time it's happened since I was hired here 4 years ago, said the manager. Are we supposed to do anything if we get robbed? Said the applicant. Our money isn't worth your life, said the manager. And honestly, fucking W for the manager. Imagine the fucking manager wants you to fucking fight for the money, knowing very well you're only getting paid $12 an hour. After that, the manager looked at the applicant and said, I'd love to sit around and answer your questions, but I strongly suspect I need to comfort a badly traumatized employee. Let's reschedule finishing this interview for another day. And you know what this guy did? He took the job, he worked there for 3 years, he never got robbed again, and they actually helped paying for his college tuition. Maybe the best job interviews are the ones where you witness a felony and everyone just moves on with their day. But that's nothing compared to what this poor soul had to deal with. An AI interview that basically turned into a digital horror movie. Picture this, you're sitting in your bedroom, laptop open, trying to look professional from the waist up while wearing pajama pants. A standard remote interview setup, right? Except the AI interviewer started glitching mid-conversation. According to this New York Post article, a TikTok user went viral after her job interview at a stretch lab in Ohio spiraled into the bizarre when the AI interviewer malfunctioned and repeated the phrase vertical bar Pilates 14 times in 25 seconds.
Vertical bar Pilates, ha. No, Pilates, vertical bar 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 Pilates, I Pilates, vertical bar Pilates, vertical bar Pilates.
The woman said, I thought it was really creepy and I was really freaked out. And honestly, same. You can't get too comfortable around these fucking clankers. But if you think AI interviews are bad, wait until you hear about these LinkedIn scammers who are turning job hunting into a full contact sport. According to Business Insider, there is this whole underground network of fake recruiters on LinkedIn who are catfishing desperate job seekers. And I mean elaborate catfish. These people are creating fake company profiles, fake employee testimonials, fake office locations. They're putting more effort into their fake jobs than real companies put into their hiring process. Take Amisha Data's story, for example. She got contacted by what seemed a legitimate recruiter for a remote part-time job as a transcriber for a school. Professional profile, convincing company details. They went through multiple interview rounds, and here's the kicker. They actually offered her the job. But then came the catch. Before she could start, she needed to pay for training materials and equipment setup. $4,300 that she will get reimbursed for. She was sent a check and was appointed where to buy this equipment online. But a couple of days later, the check bounced and the equipment never came. And surprise, surprise, the company disappeared. But the worst part is that Amisha's story isn't even unique. Scams like this are happening every single day. There is thousands of people desperate to get a job that they will actually pay for the privilege to have the opportunity to work. Now this is where things get really dark, and I mean really dark. Because sometimes what you think is just a job interview actually is something much more sinister. There's this case from India where a gang lured a man with the fake promise of a job, only to drag him to a remote location, beat him up, and force him to transfer money to them. The entire gang was eventually caught thanks to CCTV cameras. But imagine that was yourself. Imagine that was your first day. You get ready, you're ready to work, you get there early and you get the living shit beat out of you. I probably will never look for a job after that. But that is nothing compared with the next thing that you're gonna hear. Richard Edwin Fox was executed by the state of Ohio for murdering a 18 years old college student whom he lured to her death with the fake promise of a job interview. Leslie Keckler, she applied for a waitress job at the same restaurant Fox used to work at. Fox then used her application to get her phone number. He called her pretending to offer her a better job and scheduled an interview at a motel. But she never came back. When the police finally caught up with Fox, he actually admitted to killing Leslie. He told detectives that when she tried to leave, she called him an asshole. He said, "No one calls me an asshole," grabbed her by the coat, stabbed her in the back, and then strangled her with a rope just to make sure she was dead. And here's where it all comes together. We are living on a kind of fucked up job market, But despite that, people is still showing up to these nightmare interviews. Think about it. We got AI threatening with replacing us. We got pyramid schemes disguised as legitimate job opportunities. We've got actual criminals using job boards as hunting grounds. And yet, every Monday, millions and millions of people are still updating their LinkedIn profiles. Still writing cover letters that start with, I am writing to express my interest, pretending that their biggest weakness is caring too much. Because what's the alternative? Not working? In this economy? Maybe. So the next time that you're stressing out about an interview, just remember, at least you're not getting pitched essential oils by somebody who thinks CEO stands for constantly exploiting others. That's it for today's video. If you got your own interview nightmare stories, leave them in the comments below. I guarantee someone out there has it worse than you think. And if you're currently job hunting, good luck out there. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay employed, or maybe stay unemployed.